to run through just different types of email campaigns. The first one being a sales-driven email, right? The goal of it is for customers to move to action. Once they see your email, we want them to either buy your product or book your service. In my examples here, you can notice that all the calls to action are leading them to go shop that exact product online. We want to make it super easy for these customers to buy after being inspired in our email, right? The other thing that I wanted to point out with this type of email is it's very image driven. There's complimentary text, but the biggest, reason that people are inspired is not because of the text, it's because of the images. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as you're creating sales-driven emails. This is one of the most often emails that we send out simply because ultimately we are trying to drive sales. The next one that I wanted to explain today is an informative email. This one is very different because although it is important to send those emails that really drive sales, it's important to mix it up and kind of change up the content that you're sending out. People don't always want to be pressed to buy something. And there is an audience for emails that are simply educational about either the product that you're promoting or your service. So when people find value and education in your emails, you'll find that your open rates are consistently strong. And that's quite frankly one of the biggest points that I look at to ensure that our emails are still strong and that we don't need to pivot at all, is that open rate. So this email is an example that I send out for my lighting showrooms. You see there is a call to action. It got cut off just because I didn't have room under select your style, but really it's to educate the customers on how to buy, how when they go to buy our products, how to shop and get the right one. But it's not sales driven. We're simply trying to inform them. With my accounts, we send this out once per month on a topic that is relevant to that time of the year, but it is really important to mix it up and not just be trying to drive sales with your emails. Lastly, this is one that is super simple and understated, but can actually make a huge difference. This is an email that we sent out for Thanksgiving this year from one of my accounts. It's just a personal message from, the company to all their customers, right? I highlighted holidays because it's really the perfect time to do it. Even after the new year, it's really not too late, is get an email going out in January. Highlight the fact whether maybe they're ran by a family, passed down from generation to generation. You have to think that it's like, this is a personal touch that not everyone does, and that it can really make you stand out compared to all the other emails that are getting sent out this time of year. It's very likely that your business owner isn't going to have a chance to write a thank you note or a card to all of their customers. So this really does just put the personal touch back into their brand that you've been pushing. The other thing that I like to note with this is I push my business, the owners of my businesses to kind of write up their own note, because that does just make it even more personal. And then we design out the email for them. So this email alone, we send out for this exact company 4 other emails a month, but this one had a super strong open rate and click-through rate. So moving on to automations, these are journeys, right? First one here that I've highlighted is a welcome journey. It's like something that should be rolled out for every single account, kind of no excuses, right? If there's a form that's connected to Marketing 360, we should have a welcome journey, a multi-series welcome journey going out. It's really the perfect opportunity for your business to highlight all of your value propositions. So the reason why someone should spend their money with you versus a competitor. And it's essentially your first impression. They land on your website, they're impressed by you there, but then what happens after they leave? It's the first chance to kind of make an impact once they've left your site. One thing to note on automations too is that typically, if I have an automation set up or an email list, if I already have a current email list, but then I'm building out an automation, sometimes I will send one-off emails that are meant for the automation as a campaign first to everyone else, because I know if this automation isn't set up where all my customers are going to be going down it, I do want to make sure that everyone gets it. Because, for example, this House of Lights Difference email on the right, it's in the automation, but I sent it out as a campaign, kind of a one-time blast. because it was valuable for everyone to receive, not just the new subscribers to our email. Next up is big milestones. So this can really vary dependent on what kind of industry it is, but there is a lot that we can do to customize and change things within that journey that someone gets sent down. Think about your industry and the timing that makes most sense. Maybe it's a service that they need every 4 months. That makes most sense. This one is a friendiversary. So it's a murder mystery. And 1 year after that they book their original show date, they then get this murder mystery email or this friendiversary email, just reminding them, hey, we're here, we have a new show. They get sent down that journey. But it wouldn't make sense for them to do it more often because other than that, they have kind of the same show being ran within the year. So just think about your industry and think what's the right timeline to send out maybe big milestones or a friendiversary email. Next up is a review automation. So this is another no-brainer. It's a really good way to get reviews and incentivize them. Not only does it help with reviews, but then that discount, that you're then offering is encouraging return business as well. So it's kind of doing both. Lastly, we have highlighted here for this specific account, it's a waitlist automation. The whole goal here is, again, this is a show where people can get added to a waitlist and then get sent down an automation where they're referred to other locations. However, think about your industry. There's a lot of unique things that we can set up in terms of automations in the Nurture app. So consider your industry and really think outside the box on what types of automations you can set up and keep people coming back after they've visited you once, or just I also know the platform advisor team is really great. We work with them quite often on these and making sure that they're getting set up properly. But yeah, don't be afraid to think outside of the box in terms of automations. Lastly, I wanted to just run through a few bullet points in terms of what we have found big success with in terms of email marketing. Consider your audience. The audience receiving my lighting showroom emails that you guys saw up in the campaigns section versus these dinner detectives emails are very, very different. The dinner detective, it's humor. There's gifts in those emails. House of Lights is very professional, right? So consider your audience because the content in your email is really going to change depending on who you're trying to go after. Send on a consistent basis. Again, this depends on the industry. Maybe it's only applicable to send out once per month and that's consistent for you. But it's also, there's industries, and I know it personally, that you can send out 4 to 5 emails a month and be just fine. That's going to get you strong open rates as long as your email content is providing value. Don't forget to link all images back to your website. I see this sometimes where, the buttons are all linked, but there's images or logos or even design elements that get missed. Don't forget to link them to your website because people click, especially if they're viewing it on mobile, on all sorts of things. So it's really important that everything drives back to the place it should, somewhere on your website, right? And don't forget to add those UTM codes because that is very helpful in tracking and providing value. View it on mobile before sending it out. This is, even though we are viewing it on desktop as it's getting designed, you're probably sending it to your customer or your client and they're viewing it on desktop as well before it goes out. Don't forget to check it on mobile. Sometimes things just aren't quite aligned correct and it's a really easy fix, but it can make things look completely wonky if you don't check it. I mentioned this a little bit before, but my most successful emails are very image heavy with complimentary text. We do have the ability to A/B test subject lines. So if you haven't tried that in the Nurture app, it's definitely worth giving a shot to see, is asking a question, in an email or subject line working best? Is adding a little emoji at the end of it work best? So that's pretty interesting to do. The other thing that I do a lot is if your client has a brick and mortar store, ask them to send you an updated email list consistently. If it's not automatically getting uploaded into the Marketing 360 system, then just ask them for a quick export on a consistent basis, because those emails are super valuable for us to have, but easy to forget about too. Not the clients don't always remember to send it to you. Again, easy and automatic opportunities for one times with an email overage charge. The next thing is consider every form on your site. Is the email that they're receiving after filling out the form applicable to what they just filled out? Or do you have every form on your website going into one email automation? Really think about the funnel that that person, what is the landing page that they're on with a form, and how can the content in that email automation be relevant to exactly what they're viewing? Consider the full funnel. The other thing is, if you need some inspiration for maybe a really unique vertical, or just stuck and need a new idea, sign up for your competitors' emails, get in their funnel, right? See what they're doing. Sign your clients up for them as well too. That's something that I've definitely done before. The other and last kind of big point I have on this is, if you are consistently sending out emails, make sure that every other internal team member here is aware of the message and the content in them. The perfect opportunity is if you have a social media manager. I mean, how awesome is it? It's kind of taking our standard Blitz package to an extreme level, because the message that they're seeing in maybe an advanced email, or an advanced email blast, they're then seeing on social media as well too. So it's a great way for the client to see value in multiple channels and just really push the same message.